Hey everybody, we here at Dead Meat want to voice our full support for the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes, because without writers and actors, we wouldn't have all the movies that we love to talk about.
James and I both came from working class union homes, so we know that when rights aren't given, they have to be fought for.
We spoke to a SAG representative to clarify how we should proceed while supporting them. They said to fulfill any previously agreed to sponsorship contracts, so that means that we're going to stick to the original kill count schedule through the end of August.
After that, and immediately on the podcast, we're not going to be covering anything made by AMPTP Studios until the strike ends out of solidarity. We're still going to be putting out stuff, but it's going to be not struck work such as indie movies, foreign films, and possibly other kinds of media.
You can find more information about all of this from the links in the video description, and if anything changes, we'll let you know. In the meantime, support the strikes and be good people. Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Hostel, released in 2005. If 2004's Saw was the torture porn progenitor, Hostel is the movie that popularized the term, making good on the subgenre's gory promise. It follows three young idiot tourists as they backpack across Europe to get high and have sex. Their sexcapades lead them to a Slovakian hostel, which turns tourists into kidnapped victims for the elite hunting club, a place where wealthy clients can pay a few $1,000 to torture and murder people. Writer-director Eli Roth said he got the idea from a website offering murder tourism.
I'd seen this website where you could go to Thailand and pay $10,000 to walk into a room and shoot somebody in the head.
After briefly considering a documentary, he opted for a fictional narrative instead, combining it with an idea of backpacking horror from producers Chris Briggs and Mike Fleiss. Roth was coming off the success of his featured debut, 2002's Cabin Fever. With Hostel, he aimed to avoid the sophomore slump and push for even more visceral discomfort. He wanted a movie that didn't feel safe. And to that end, Hostel is a massive success. Your torture porn tolerance will strongly dictate your enjoyment of this film.
Not everyone should see this film, all right? You've heard of extreme sports. If you're into extreme entertainment, then Hostel is the one for you.
And its violence isn't the only extreme thing. It's also super booby, with the first act sometimes feeling like softcore porn. It was honestly a bitch to blur. Just as pronounced as the blood and boobs is the movie's tone. It's peak mid-aughts meanness, a pure distillation of 2005, which perhaps surprisingly actually makes me kind of love Hostel. I talk a lot about post 9/11 Bush era, but I have to again here, since Hostel is simply steeped in that zeitgeist. The American tourists are obnoxious and entitled visitors to other countries.
Hey, I'm an American, I got rights.
And why wouldn't they be? This is the time of freedom fries and flag obsession, baby, when the rest of the world was expected to acquiesce to the US of A.
How the hell are we supposed to understand this without subtitles? Fucking gay.
This attitude stemmed from the fear Americans felt towards foreigners after the towers fell, which is really what this whole movie is about.
Right now, nothing scares me more than those videos on the internet of Al-Qaeda terrorists decapitating people. It's the thought that you're in a room and no matter what you say or what you do, someone's going to cut your head off. You can't offer them any amount of money. They're going to do it, and there's nothing you can do about that.
It's the paranoia of the color-coded terrorism chart, the TSA that assumes everyone is a potential terrorist. That paranoia ends up being justified in this movie, where seemingly everyone in Slovakia is trying to traffic tourists. Americans fetch the highest price, probably since so much of the world was pissed at us during the War on Terror.
Suddenly, in the last few years, with George Bush in office, everything has changed. You feel like people really hate us.
They saw Americans as these characters, and to be fair, sometimes it felt like everyone acted this way back then.
That bitch had the best fucking tits in Amsterdam.
These characters are so period accurate that Hostel becomes a perfect preservation of an era. And similarly to how Rob Zombie movies sincerely look at hellbillies, Hostel is authentically frat, and not in a flattering way. The protagonists are rude, crude, and juvenile. Way worse than a slasher's average annoying teens.
I hope bestiality is legal in Amsterdam because that girl's a fucking hog.
The first half of the movie is spent learning to hate these guys, and then the second half is watching them get tortured. The movie basically dares you to enjoy it. And if you do, well, what does that say about you? At that point, you're basically paying to watch them suffer, which sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Where there's smoke, there's fire, and where there's... Why does this always happen during kill count intros? It's because of sponsors.
James, oh, hey, there you are, buddy. I'm here to help.
Help with what?
Oh, you said that you couldn't, do the kill count until you found a handyman.
No, I said I couldn't film a kill count until I found the handyman.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's the latest product from today's sponsor. Manscaped.
Oh, Manscaped! I love them. They're really good for taking care down there.
Yeah, they are, and they're trusted by over 8 million customers for their hygiene and trimming needs. But now, Manscaped can help keep that face baby smooth too with the Handyman razor.
That's really interesting.
It's a compact electric razor with a dual blade system to provide a quick, close shave, and skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts.
So you don't need someone to repair the kill count set.
No, but what I did need was to clean up my 3 days of facial hair growth. You see, with the Handyman's 60 minutes of runtime, I like to keep it on hand throughout the day. But it's so small that I, sometimes forget to take it out of my pockets. I found it though, so now I'm all set to do some counting.
So I came over for nothing.
No, not nothing, man, because you can get 20% off your own Handyman razor by going to manscaped.com and using our code KILLCOUNT20.
Cool! I don't just get one because I work for the company?
Nope. But you do need to leave. I am in the middle of filming a kill count.
Go back to my cage.
Yeah, okay, see ya. Okay, where there's smoke, there's fire, and where there's torture, there's kills. Let's find out how many and get to them. The movie begins with Bloodsport Hygiene. They're getting this club nice and ready for us. Backpacking buds Paxton and Josh are importing American rowdiness to Amsterdam.
I'm fucking awesome!
They're rolling with an Icelandic bro named Oli they met in Paris, and the three of them are getting down and dirty in the Netherlands. They smoke weed with director Eli Roth, get into bar fights slinging homophobic slurs, and have dirty bathroom sex. At least Oli does. Paxton and Josh are having a harder time getting laid, which Paxton blames partially on Josh's fanny pack. I hear they're coming back though. Producer Dan Frisch there knows. These shitbags are disruptive interlopers, completely dismissive of the locals. They only care about getting fucked and getting fucked up. The closest act of decency we see comes from Paxton.
We can't rail a girl who's in a coma.
What an ally. He's played by the very handsome Jay Hernandez, last seen on the show violating the 6-foot rule in quarantine. Paxton may be a prick, but Hernandez plays him well. There's a later scene where he talks about seeing a girl drown when he was younger, and it almost makes you like the guy. Pax and his friends stay up all night to get lucky at a brothel so hardcore even the shadow puppets get it on. Everyone has a good time except for Josh, who's reeling from a recent breakup and isn't comfortable with sex workers. Even with Oli picking up the tab, Josh can't provide the tip. The brothel scene was heavily cut to earn an R rating. I think the crew got a little too excited filming it.
Naked girls everywhere, naked girls everywhere.
The boys end up staying out so long they get locked out of their hostel after curfew, and since they're loud asshole Americans, they wind up getting bottles tossed at them. Lucky for them, a local sex creep named Alexei takes pity on their horny plight and offers them shelter and reassurance.
Not everyone wants to kill Americans.
Just everyone in this movie. Alexei's a kindred pervert who also has no problem watching his friends have sex. He shares a slideshow of him having sex with multiple ladies and says it's easy to score further east, like in Slovakia. Well, a stranger saying they can get some strange is enough for these fucking idiots to alter their travel plans and head towards Bratislava. PAX West becomes PAX East. On the train there, they meet a Dutch businessman who eats salad with his hands like a fucking psycho.
I like to have a connection with something that died for me. I appreciate it more.
This guy is played by Czech actor Jan Vlasic in one of his only American productions. He talks about the spiritual purity of handling meat, but since Josh doesn't want the guy's hands anywhere near his meat, he gives them back their personal space and flees. At least personal space won't be a problem in Bratislava. You dumbasses feeling good about your decisions yet? The guys are disappointed by what they find, as was the country of Slovakia, since despite this movie taking place there, it was actually filmed in the neighboring Czech Republic. Specifically, this beautiful looking town is Český Krumlov, a historic tourist center on the Vltava River with a 13th century castle downtown. Slovakia wasn't thrilled with their depiction in Hostel. The movie's Bratislava is a place where everyone's scheming to kill you, where gangs of street children threaten your kneecaps, and where the police are paid off and corrupt. The real Slovakia? Yeah, not so much.
It's like a beautiful country with normal people, nice.
The script seems ignorant of the country's reality altogether, with part of Alexei's pitch being that there aren't a lot of men there.
There is so much pussy, and because of the war there are no guys.
I don't know what war he's talking about. The splitting of Slovakia and the Czech Republic was so peaceful, it's sometimes called the Velvet Divorce. And that name comes from the bloodless Velvet Revolution in 1989, which is when communist rule ended in Czechoslovakia. Neither of those events were wars. Roth countered the country's complaints by by saying that Americans don't even know Slovakia exists. He probably thought of it as less a real place and more a metaphor for American xenophobia. Slovakia actually offered him an all-expense-paid trip, but I don't think he ever took him up on it. Meanwhile, he did apologize to Iceland for misrepresenting them through Oli, a drunk womanizer. They get to the hostel and trade their passports for keys to a room that they'll have to share.
Roommates, huh? That's gay.
Or is it? Yep, turns out this place is frat boy freaking heaven, with topless women everywhere and Pulp Fiction on the tube. That's an overt nod to Roth's friend and mentor Quentin Tarantino, who encouraged him to make this movie and served as one of its executive producers. The hottie hot roommates invite the boys to the sauna, where they introduce themselves as Natalia and Svetlana. They're interested in Josh and Paxton, even though Oli's right there with a svelte sack.
I'm so happy I shaved my balls.
Oli, who styles himself the King of the Swing, is played by Eyþór Johnson, who was not an actor when Roth met him on an Icelandic scouting trip for Cabin Fever. The director was so won over by the entrepreneur and former athlete that he created this role just for him, based on his real-life personality. Johnson would go on to be an associate producer for Hostel 2, and oh, actually, that's it. That is his entire film career. You good with that, Eyþór?
Yeah, of course, my horse.
Cool beans. The ladies take the boys out for dancing and ambiguous drugs, but Josh still can't have a good time. He leaves by himself and gets cornered by a roving child gang who threatens to murder him. But the meat man from the train arrives and saves him, so Josh buys him a beer and apologizes for correctly responding to his sexual harassment earlier. This cheers moment is probably the closest Hostel comes to subtlety. The Dutch businessman implies he knows that Josh is closeted and says he made the same choice when he was his age, resulting in a wife and a young daughter back home. The way Derek Richardson plays it, the Dutch businessman might be right about Josh. It gives the character more dimension and a reason for his homophobia, though of course, not an excuse. Kinda coming out to a strange guy at the bar doesn't stop Josh from having synchronized sex with his boys though. Well, one of his boys. Oli's missing come morning. A Japanese tourist named Kana has very 2005 evidence that Oli ran away with her friend. The boys do their due diligence trying to find Oli, even stalking a random guy through a torture museum with the coolest ticketing system ever. When they get a weird text from him, it's enough for Dumb and Dumberer. They give up, reasoning that they don't even know the guy. Hell, it wasn't until the train ride over they found out he has a 6-year-old daughter. Too bad that kid's an orphan now, since Oli is revealed to have been decapitated inside this Dave and Buster's of thrill killing. Kana's friend is also here, but her death is ultimately unseen. A clever match cut spares us the sight of a toe severance. Ha, nailed it. Paxton's already at lip kiss goodbye status with these chicks, so they're back to party time that night. Josh ends up so sick he starts seeing force ghosts, so he decides to call it a night and leave. Paxton sticks around, but gets so fucked up that through a comedy of errors, he winds up locked inside a broom closet trying to find the bathroom. The drugs kick in and both boys pass out, with Paxton inadvertently hiding himself from human trafficking. Josh, not so lucky. He wakes up later with eyesight like the Looney Tunes logo got stuck while opening. But that's okay, this guy here knows all about openings. For instance, he just drilled an opening into Josh's leg. The weekend warrior torturing Josh is none other than the Dutch businessman. He's unfulfilled in life and would rather deal in death.
I always wanted to be a surgeon.
But them salad fingers were just too damn shaky. He's gotten close to Josh because it matches what he said about food on the train.
I like to have a connection with something that died for me. I appreciate it more.
He slits Josh's Achilles tendons, causing him to scream like he were set on fire by a cartoon mouse. Though the action itself is done off screen, we sure do get a close-up when Josh takes a step and splits his ankles open. Josh offers to pay the guy, but he says he's the one who's paid to do this. With that, he gets his money's worth and slits Josh's throat. Paxton wakes up confused and tries to find answers from their half-naked roomies, but instead, he finds 2 new half-naked roomies who tell him to join them at the spa. Even Paxton's dumbass knows he ain't got that much riz. He sees Natalia and Svetlana leaving the city in a cab, which makes him so mad he could choke a kid. Oh shit, Pax man, calm down, dude. You're choking a kid.
How did it feel to choke a child?
It's like one of my dreams. You know
That's like one for the spank bank.
Yeah, wait, what? He tracks down his former roomies and finds them looking way less glamorous. When he asks where Josh is, Natalia responds by taking him to where RoboCop died. She says that Josh is totally enjoying an art exhibition inside. Before he enters, Pax asks for a review from a verified customer.
You could spend all your money in there.
That guy is fellow gorehound Takashi Miike, the Japanese director of ultra-violent classics like Audition and Ichi the Killer. A thumbs up like that is enough to lure Paxton deeper into the compound, where Natalia has such sights to show him. Like his best friend getting sliced and diced by the Dutch businessman living out his surgical fantasies. Paxton's American exceptionalism has ended with a rude wake-up call from Natalia.
I got a lot of money for you. And that make you my bitch.
She laughs and gloats as he's captured by hench Slovaks who give Paxton the rest of the tour. They drag him past several other rich psychopaths, letting off steam and a little bit of bone dust, adding 4 more victims to our count. This hallway of the industrial slaughterhouse is supposed to be the inverse of the brothel's design. Production designer Franco Giacomo Carbone wanted the neon colors of the earlier scenes to drain out over the course of the film.
As you see the progression, we're going into Slovakia, draining the color from the movie, and then we end up in the factory.
This design through line was paired with shot choices, which start off floaty with cranes and steadicams when the guys are having fun. They switch to a more documentary-like handheld style as things get real. The background actors change as well, losing their youth and spark as the movie goes on. The sets for the brothel and torture club were built next to each other on a soundstage, where they could conveniently be switched around with a pulley system. Other slaughterhouse interiors were shot in an abandoned wing of the Bochnica Psychiatric Hospital near Prague. The atmosphere was so naturally heavy that production needed reinforcements for morale.
We are going to have a string quartet playing Vivaldi in between the takes, so to make it a nice, more pleasant atmosphere to work in.
Paxton is chained up in a private room at the mercy of a German surgeon. The surgeon seems to have some doubts at first, even though he paid to be here. I get it. It's like when you're on the plane going up to skydive. The surgeon considers aerating him, shooting him, and giving him awful bangs, but he ultimately settles on the Sawyer Special. All hands now half off. I'm not sure why the German then backs up enough to have a running charge at the Pax-Man, but he slips on the fingers and cuts his leg like Leatherface's in the original Chainsaw Massacre. Oh wait, this is way worse. He cuts his leg like Leatherface's arm in the remake Chainsaw Massacre. The slapstick severance gives Paxton enough time to wiggle free, and he takes the man's life without even having to pay for it. Sure, a gun might not be too creative, but the price is finger-slipping good. Outside, the guard Vin Unleaded takes a break from watching an actual cabin fever porn parody called Sex Fever to check on the ruckus. Unfortunately for him, Pax-Man has eaten a big dot and turned the tables, cause he takes out this blue ghost with a couple of gunshots. You're a natural at this, Pax. Already landed yourself a BOGO. Since he came to Europe to get digits, he ain't leaving his behind. He takes his fingies to go and sneaks out in a horny disguise, then ditches it to hide on the body trolley. From what I can tell, there are 5 distinct bodies here, so I'll go ahead and add them to the count. They're wheeled away by the place's, blacksmith? Is that what he is? As Paxton struggles to keep all hands and arms inside the ride vehicle. They get to the guy's shop. Oh, duh, he's more like a butcher. Where Paxton sees Josh's body with his mouth sewn shut. Shh. The butcher's meat in this scene was a combination of fake and actual meat, specifically pork, which was sometimes used for close-ups of drills going into flesh. It smelled so bad it caused a bunch of the crew to retch.
Can we get some incense?
Pax loses his fingers again, and this time for good, since the butcher tosses them into a fire. Doomed to a lifetime of counting problems, Paxton adds the butcher to our count by stealth bonking him with his own tenderizer. Paxton then sneaks around like he's in a Pokemon tower, avoiding other trainers. In a locker room upstairs, he finds a business card with a bloodhound on it. The front says Elite Hunting, and the back shows different prices for different tourists. He also finds a better disguise, and though the glove doesn't fit, he won't quit trying to survive. Another American shows up, presuming Pax to be another paying customer.
How was it? Good.
The American says he's here because sex tourism got old. His Paxtonian pastimes grew passé.
And the bottom line is, pussy's pussy.
This underlines how the murder biz is like the most extreme version of what Paxton and Josh were doing, traveling to a foreign land and paying for pleasures of the flesh.
The theme of exploitation runs all throughout Hostel. You know, what these guys are doing in Amsterdam with these hookers, they're walking into a room, paying to do whatever they want to them, is the same thing that these businessmen are doing later to them. They're walking into a room, paying to do whatever they want to them.
The Yank ain't sure at first if he wants to kill his victim quickly or take it slow. He opts for a slow weapon, so Paxton's more than happy to take the fast one himself. He makes it out to the parking lot, but just when he thought he was out, he hears Kana screaming, and god damn it, they pull him back in. He spies with his little eye, kinda missing one of hers. Her face is so fucked up here that I'm just gonna have to blur it for the rest of this video. Shit. They called this effect the eyegasm behind scenes, and it is super duper fucking gross. The amateur optometrist is none other than the American customer. Paxton saves Kana by making sure the guy's shots are up to date. And now it's time for cleanup. In what has to be the single most difficult moment of the movie to watch, Paxton cuts Kana's torched eyeball off, oh my god, and then a bunch of yellow pus squirts out, Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, this barfest and all of the movie's effects were done by the legendary K&B.
The first person I cast when I was making this movie was K&B Effects.
The company had done effects for Cabin Fever, and Roth was thrilled to have them back to make more fucked up shit.
This is really beautiful, intricate work.
The melted eye was one of the first things that they designed.
I personally like the idea that, you know, while the eyeball's in the socket and it's being cooked, it's sort of like cooking an egg.
They wound up putting a fake eye inside a condom and had supervisor Kevin Wassner squeeze the pus out of a tube. Ugh. For Paxton's torture, they made a hollow silicone hand and filled it with blood, then cut it with an actual chainsaw.
Up. Down. Cut.
And for Josh's infamous heel slits, they were able to reuse a pair of fake legs from Kill Bill. Goes to show how something simple can also be really memorable.
Such a painful looking.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Paxton re-escapes with Kana, and by now you have to ask yourself if you still hate him or if you want him to succeed. And it can be both. You might just want to see these human traffickers lose, since they also target innocent people like Kana. Paxton leads the goons on a car chase back to town. There, he spots Natalia and Svetlana conspiring with that dirty Dutch rat Alexei. Pax earns himself a threefer by running them over with his car. Oh wait, sorry, Natalia survived. Oh wait, never mind, probably not. These awesome stunts were filmed multiple times on a public road. With a stunt performer I wish they had credited by name here. At one point, she breaks the windshield with her head, hot damn. Paxton turns onto the Child Gang Turnpike, but thankfully, he's got an easy pass, a big ass bag of candy. Now on his payroll, the kids stop the car tailing him and go adorably home alone on the guy. Oh shit, these kids are wrecking those dudes. Now that is an Oliver twist. Seriously though, it's disturbing to see kids smiling and killing all for some bubblegum. For almost every role outside the three leads, production cast check locals, even if that meant some phonetic directing was required.
Get the fuck out.
Lots of internet trivia claims the bubblegum gang was played by actual street kids, but internet trivia is often wrong, and I couldn't verify that fact. In any case, these b-ball and Czech children got some free English lessons from Roth.
Punani! Bitches!
After dead-ending at a police checkpoint, Paxton drags Kana back to the train station. He's wondering how to sneak someone aboard whose face is part cherry cobbler when Kana sees a reflection of herself. Come on, Kana, don't you want to wear an eye patch like a badass pirate? Yeah? Her answer is sadly, yo no. And thanks to an oncoming train, everybody gets a face full of cherry cobbler. English actor Jennifer Lim was psyched to have a death scene.
I've always wanted to die a gruesome scream death.
All it took was a kick-ass stunt performer, a train running over a dummy, and a few fire extinguishers filled with pressurized blood. Hope she liked it more than the eye-cutting scene. Instead of joining her suicide squad, the distraction lets Paxton sneak on board the departing train. It'll take him back west to less scary countries. En route, he hears a familiar voice getting weird about meat. It's the Dutch businessman, and when he gets off the train to take a more luxurious poop, Paxton makes sure the bathroom is geschlossen for business. He taunts the squatting Dutchman with the club's business card before attacking. He cuts off the guy's fingers, just like he lost his own, then gives the Dutchman some atomic swirlies, presumably in his own piss. Finally, he shows him an opening by giving his throat an inglorious hole. Paxton gets back on the train like nothing happened and rides it away as the movie ends, at least in the final version. An alternate ending saw Paxton kidnap the Dutch businessman's daughter as payback, but test audiences didn't like it. Jay Hernandez didn't either.
I did not like that at all. That was not. Nah, that's fucked up.
Did we get the numbers we paid for in this hostel? Let's find out and get to them. Whoa! All right, who didn't pick up their fingers? You know, the Roomba just kind of pushes them around. I counted 23 kills in Hostel. 15 victims were men and 8 were women, giving us a pie chart as blue as the movies that play at a brothel. We've seen that count in 4 other movies, and the same gender breakdown in Freddy vs. Jason. but only the special Nightmare edition, which was the second of 3 times I covered that movie. With a runtime of 93 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 4.04 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Josh. Not so much for the throat slit, but those damn slit heels are an unforgettable sight. Dome machete for lamest kill goes to the American businessman. Dude fucked up Kana's face, but got a quick and easy death from a few gunshots. And that's it. Hostel premiered in Iceland in late 2005 and opened wide in January 06. It made more than 80 million on a budget of less than 5, so Hostel Part 2 was rolling by September the same year. Will I cover it? Of course, my horse! But until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count on Hostel. Now I've got a big ass bag of candy that I don't know what to do with. I don't need candy. I don't need candy. Although honestly, a Skittle here or there ain't bad. Sometimes I like to taste the rainbow, motherfuckers. I'm excited to be doing another series, even though it's only 3 movies again. And I'm really excited for it to be Hostel. This is like a landmark, benchmark horror movie. Really curious what the reaction to this one's gonna be, because I feel like some people are like, oh, he won't cover it, it's too graphic. Just slap those fucking blurs on and let's talk about this shit, right? Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the next 2 as well. I want to thank some patrons like Rico Story, Joel Ostman, Dofo Vargas, Helen Sanchez, James, Marion DeDios, Bryna Kemp, and TJ McLean. Thanks everyone. Be good people.